All right, let's just jump right in. Imagine this. Deep, deep under the streets of Manhattan, there's a vault. It's one of the most secure places on the entire planet. And what it holds isn't just one country's treasure, it's really the trust of the whole world.
So what are we talking about here? We're talking about 6,300 tons of pure, solid gold. That is over 500,000 gold bars. To put that in perspective, we're looking at a value of well over $1 trillion. And here's the kicker. Almost none of it actually belongs to the U.S.
So where is this place? This is the vault of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. We're talking 25 meters underground. That's about 80 feet down. And it's sealed by this massive 90-ton steel cylinder. Get this, once it's closed, there is no way to open it again until the next business day. It is without a doubt the largest known stockpile of monetary gold anywhere on Earth.
And that, right there, brings us to the big question. The whole reason we're digging into this today. Why on earth would countries like Germany or Italy or Switzerland keep one of their most valuable, most critical national assets an entire ocean away? Well, the answer, it's a fascinating story. It's about trust, it's about fear, and, it's about a global order that might just be starting to crack.
Okay, so before we get into the how all this gold got there, we got to understand the why. Why is this shiny metal so important? I mean, it's more than just for jewelry, right? For the entire global financial system, gold is basically the ultimate insurance policy.
Yeah, a safe haven asset. That's the key phrase right there. Think about it like this. An expert, Barry Aikengreen, he described it perfectly. He said, for a country, gold is the absolute last resort in a crisis. When everything else is going haywire, markets are crashing, currencies are unstable, gold is supposed to be the bedrock, the one thing you can count on.
So that explains why gold is so important. But how did an American vault become the world's go-to safe deposit box? Well, for that story, we have to go back in time. It all really kicks off in the aftermath of World War II when a brand new global threat was starting to emerge.
Okay, so here's the deal. After the war, you had the Bretton Woods Agreement, which basically tied the US dollar to gold. This made the dollar the most stable, most trusted asset on the entire planet. Now, if you're a European nation just starting to rebuild and you're staring at the Soviet Union right across the border, well, shipping your gold to the US just made perfect sense. It was safe, it was far away from the Iron Curtain, and get this, the Fed offered to store it for free. It was this incredible promise of security, both financially and militarily.
But fast forward to today. The Soviet Union? That's ancient history. And that promise, made back in the Cold War, it was made in a completely different world. Now something new has entered the picture, something that's creating a whole lot of uncertainty around this old arrangement.
What we've seen are some pretty big shifts in U.S. foreign policy that have frankly rattled some of its oldest allies. You've got talk about trade wars, questions about long-standing alliances, kind of an America first attitude, and that has kicked off a really serious debate, especially in a place like Germany, which, by the way, has the second biggest gold reserves in the world.
And this quote right here from a former researcher at Germany's central bank, the Bundesbank, it really nails the feeling. He's basically saying, hey, with everything going on, keeping so much of our gold in the US feels risky. The argument is that if they brought it home, Germany would have more control, more strategic autonomy, and they wouldn't have to worry about some sudden decision from Washington affecting their assets. But then you have the official story. The establishment view is totally different. The head of the Bundesbank, Joachim Nagel, he's on the record saying, look, there's no reason to be concerned. I have complete and total confidence in my colleagues at the U.S. Central Bank. So he's really trying to calm everyone down.
And what's happening on the American side amidst all this debate? Well, crickets. A real notable silence. No big public statements, no, hey, allies, don't worry, everything's fine. And you can imagine, for the people who are already nervous, that silence, it's not exactly reassuring. In fact, it probably makes things worse.
So all of this leads to a huge, really difficult, and super expensive question for a lot of European countries. After 70+ years, is it finally time to bring the gold home?
And this is not a simple choice, not at all. You've got a real dilemma here. On the pro side, yeah, bringing it home gives you total control. It protects you from any unpredictable political moves. But on the con side, just think about the logistics of moving thousands of tons of gold. It's insanely expensive and a massive security risk. And maybe even more important, what kind of message does that send? It's basically a public vote of no confidence in one of your most important allies.
And look, this isn't just some hypothetical academic debate. It has happened before. Way back in the 60s, France's leader, Charles de Gaulle, he pulled all their gold out.
And it turned out to be a genius move, because he correctly guessed the US would eventually break the dollar's link to gold. And even more recently, during the big Eurozone crisis a few years back, both the Netherlands and Germany quietly started bringing some of their gold back home too.
Okay, let's pull back for a second. Let's zoom out. Because what we're really talking about here is so much bigger than just a bunch of gold bars sitting in a vault. This is really about the foundations of the entire global system that's been in place since World War II.
And just take a look at this chart. It's pretty stark. The amount of foreign gold sitting in that New York vault, it's already been cut almost in half from where it was at its peak back in 1973. So the recent political drama, it's not starting a new trend, it's just hitting the gas on something that's been happening for a long, long time.
Here's another way to think about it. Guarding all that gold for free? It's always been a form of what you'd call American soft power. It's like the NATO security umbrella, a service the US provides to build trust and alliances. So when countries start questioning the gold storage, what they're really questioning is the entire relationship. It's a huge deal.
And that brings us to the big, kind of unsettling question that's just hanging over everything. This whole system was built on one simple idea, that the US was a trustworthy, neutral guardian. So what happens if that's not how the world sees it anymore? What does that do to the stability of the entire global financial system?
You know, this quote from Christine Lagarde, the head of the European Central Bank, just hits so hard here. She talks about these moments in history when foundations that seemed completely solid suddenly start to shake, and it just leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Are we living through one of those moments right now? Are the very foundations that we've all taken for granted for more than 50 years actually starting to crumble?